Okay, so today we're going to talk about the key e-commerce metrics and KPIs to track on a weekly basis. These are the ones we recommend to our clients to generate the best ROI from our organic marketing campaigns. So I'm Tom Buckland, I'm the founder of Amazon SEO Consultant and also HQSEO. So today we're going to go through what the most important ones are for e-commerce stores and also talk about why it's so important to do some very specific things to get the highest ROI from your marketing and advertising. Okay. So first things first, we're going to talk quickly about sales because obviously that is the key metric for e-commerce stores, but we're also going to go more in depth into a few things like organic rankings for Amazon, conversion rates, cart value, and everything like that. Okay. If you have any questions at the end, just give me a shout. So the first one, obviously, we're going to talk about is sales. But one thing that I wanted to talk about up front is that sales and conversion rates depend on the actual type and niche of the traffic. So for example, if you're not segmenting traffic by goal and value and relating this back to your industry, you'd be leaving a lot of sort of stress within your team because you don't think the conversion rates are as good as it should be. Conversion rates to sales, this is. When in fact, it's just your niche or industry that is that sort of type of conversion. So if we have a look at two examples. First up, just a quick graph, little bit of data from Marketing Sherpa, e-commerce benchmark 2014. Most sites, I think nowadays, generate around a 2 to 2.5% overall e-commerce conversion rate. Some sites, as you'll see in a minute, get a lot more, some a lot less. But if you can generate that 2%, 2 to 3%, then you're generally in a good sort of pricing structure, good value add. And obviously repeat purchases will be a lot higher. So that'll push it over sort of 4 or 5% long term with email marketing, referrals, affiliates, if you do that. Okay. First example we're going to look at, just to sort of get a better idea of the data. This is one of our clients. They have a number of paid and organic campaigns going on. And as you can see, the organic search campaign is currently at 1% conversion, whereas paid's at 4%. So what does this mean? This essentially means that they're running a lot of content that could potentially not be directly related to organic search. But the problem is, and which we'll get onto in the later examples, is we don't know when this end conversion is taking place and what traffic is initially it's from. So display advertising, for example, if we have a look at that and has almost a 3% conversion rate, display advertising doesn't get 3%, especially on first sort of overlay. So if you see an ad or a sort of pop-up or whatever of a display advert, you're not going to likely click through and buy first time. So display advertising and social here are probably retargeting from an organic search campaign or a paid search campaign. And that's why it's very, very important to remember that organic search and paid can sometimes drive even more sales and volume than sort of it shows here. Obviously, the volume of search and social is relatively low for this client. They're very paid heavy, which is going well. But it's just to get an idea that in this case, a conversion rate of say 3%, 3-4% is very good. Okay. Whereas if we take a look at this client, their organic sort of conversion rate is almost at 10%, and that's doing around 200K. So that's obviously some large numbers in proportion to the conversion rate. Direct, email, referral, and affiliate, you can see are all very, very high numbers in terms of an e-commerce conversion rate. And that means their site is very well built, very fast, good user experience, good conversion rate optimization, good cart abandonment rates. Everything that we'll get onto in a sort of later point is all working extremely well. And this is why we need to track it by channel and also, in short, conversion rates by industry. There's not one size fits all. Okay. So this client is in a very sort of, I don't know how to say this, more of a explicit industry. So the conversion rates should be slightly higher because if people are already searching, they know exactly what they want. Whereas the previous client was more in a single offering. So they offer one product across the site. And obviously organic search is 9 times, 10 times higher. And obviously as a result, revenue is 10 times higher as well for what is a relatively similar traffic value they have. Okay, so it's just something to remember that don't play on your sales and don't play on your conversion rates too much. Next metric, obviously we've talked about this just now. We'll go through it very, very quickly. Sales conversion rate. This is incredibly important. You need to monitor it weekly. You need to monitor it by channel, what we were just on about, but also remember to integrate the 80-20 rule. So if we have a look at this example again, we can see that they should be integrating a lot of their time into things like email, referrals, and affiliates because their conversion rates are so high, and obviously organic as well. But things like social that are a little bit lower, they could probably leave that out. Okay, so remember to increase the 20% that drives 80% of the results. Okay, metric 3 is organic rankings. So this is actually incredibly important for stores that are on Amazon and Google. For Google, I recommend ahrefs.com. If you haven't heard of it, it's a large big data tracker. And for Amazon, I recommend keyworks.org. It's just a very simple analytical position tracker that you can use for Amazon. And the important thing is these organic rankings, both in Amazon and Google, are directly related to sales. So if you imagine you rank in the top 5 for a very specific product keyword, if we take a previous example, we might say like a laptop stand or something. If you rank in the top 3 to 5 in Amazon and in Google for those, you have positive reviews, you have a strong pricing structure, you're going to make a hell of a lot of sales. Whereas if you don't track your organic rankings, you might be on page 2 for both of those or some really big keywords, but you won't know that, and you can't integrate campaigns, organic search, or paid to help you increase those rankings. Okay, it's something we monitor on a daily basis to see where clients' new rankings come in, because it's a lot easier to take a keyword from page 2 to page 1 than it is to take a brand new keyword from outside the top 10 pages onto a first page. Okay, the ROI is a lot faster and greater. So organic ranking is the number 1 driver of profitable Amazon businesses. So obviously our Amazon SEO side of the business focus on ranking products in Amazon. We rank over 100 products a month. So we've built a model that does kind of relate organic rankings back to sales. And what we see is clients saying that they would rather spend money on organic than paid, because obviously once you turn it off, your paid campaigns could potentially go down the drain, and you're usually competing on a sort of price per sale point. So for example, PPC versus return on ad spend, and that's a very dangerous model long term. You'd rather invest one time into organic rankings and have a profitable driver of an Amazon business. Metric 4 is mobile conversion rate. So you could relate this back to Amazon and Google, but today we're just going to talk about Google in a little bit of detail. So to do this, obviously go into your Google Analytics and then check Analyze by channel. Okay, you're going to have multiple different channels, but make sure the secondary type is mobile. So you're only looking at the mobile conversion rates, mobile bounce rates, mobile user experience metrics, and then you can also analyze by device type. So for example, one of our clients ranks very well or generates a lot of conversions on Android devices, but for some reason on Apple devices, they don't generate as many. So we looked into this, and it's just a little bit of development work that needed to be done. And then remembering the thumb trip rule. So for example, if you have call to actions on your website that aren't easy to type with a thumb or easy to reach, for example, if you have a look at the Google image opposite, you can see the thumb and the search or type URL is very, very close, and it's very easy to touch. Now, what we recommend is having all your call to actions, whether that's a call us now or a purchase or an add to cart, within reach for a thumb, so people don't have to mess around with two hands, put their phone down, because obviously that's going to increase cart abandonments rapidly, which we'll get onto in a later point. Okay. Lifetime customer value. So this is really misunderstood. The first definition here is probably one of the worst I've seen. I wanted to put it in because it's so bad. So the total revenue you can expect to generate from each customer is your average order value divided by 1 minus the repeat purchase rate. Okay, this is pretty terrible. And then obviously subtract your customer acquisition cost from that, and you get your customer lifetime value. The problem is obviously the majority of customer lifetime value is guesses, and the really, really strong companies or the really strong brands will have customer lifetime values massively, massively underestimated, because obviously you can't physically track word of mouth. You can't physically track taking money away from competitors and giving it to you instead. That's worth so much more than simply generating a sale and saying, hey, we earned an extra $50, $100 a day or whatever it is, because you honestly can't determine that person won't go and tell 10 other people, or won't like your status on Facebook, or won't do any number of things. And unless you have very, very good analytical software that tracks that individual user on a granular basis, then you seriously can't really calculate lifetime value. And this is very, very misunderstood. And it's usually a lot higher than you think. So this is kind of why the old adage goes that the company that can spend more on acquiring that first customer usually wins, because most people underestimate the lifetime value of a customer, especially if you have an awesome first offering. Then you should spend as much money up front to generate that. Okay, as a slightly better definition is below. So in marketing, customer lifetime value, CLV, or often CLV, is a prediction of the net profit attributed to the entire future relationship with the customer. And obviously, I would add another point here. It also determines the profitability that customer generates from other untrackable activities. So like I said, word of mouth marketing, positive brand recognition, repeat purchase rate of that specific person. You might have acquired a person that will purchase for you for 50 years, tell all their family. But you also might have purchased from someone who actually doesn't really like it. And taking that average is usually underestimated. Okay. Also, remember to try and track on a granular basis where they come into your site initially, whether that's from search or paid, because that's actually one of the most important things. The majority of traffic that we see comes in from search at the first time, but doesn't convert until 4 to 7 touch points later. So that could be retargeting, that could be a content piece, that could be an email, that could be, even going into a store if it was a real local brand. So just remember these things, because a lot of people won't track where that initial sort of connection or touch point came from. And it's a really important thing to understand and actually track if possible, if you have the analytics people in-house, or if not, use a software or company to do it for you. So metric 6 is the average customer acquisition cost. And this one, again, similar to what we talked about before, is a lot tougher to track, but we do need to do it by channel. So you can see the generic sort of calculation is total marketing spend over number of customers equals total customer acquisition cost. Okay, but the problem is, where's that total marketing spend going and coming from? So do we have organic search, email, referral, direct, affiliate, social? If we're spending 10 grand a month on social and we're spending 100 grand a month on paid, then we can't sort of combine those two things to equal one number, because we might be obviously undervaluing a certain channel such as organic search or email, and we might be overvaluing one like social or affiliates. So it's just very important to not just be like, look, everything is great, we have a good customer acquisition cost. We need to break it down by channel. We actually need to say, look, okay, what's our customer acquisition cost of organic search? And is that actually true? Because what happens if they come in from organic search first and then sign up to an email list and purchase via an email? Lots of the times, Google Analytics will track that as an email purchase, and that will get fully credited with the analytics team or with the company directors. They will sort of convert that email data and say, look, we need to invest more into email marketing. But you need to be careful, because if that came from organic search or paid or social, then you should be relating that back to the customer acquisition cost of that specific medium. Okay, so the key here is to build analytics to track first, second, third purchase journeys. So for example, like I mentioned, if you imagine somebody came via paid initially, and then they forgot the name of your brand but wanted to come back again, so they came via email, okay? And then, for example, they came directly to the site, okay? And then they saw an ad on social and they decided to click it, a piece of content, they read that, and then a week later they searched your brand name, came through organic search. Now, they've had 5 different mediums, but that initial one of paid probably needs to be weighted highly, and you can also split that acquisition cost down. So if you imagine that end purchase is very large, it's important not to just say that all comes from organic search. It's important to say that some of it needs to be attributed to social, email, direct, and some of it needs to be attributed to paid, usually a larger proportion if they first came via that medium. Okay, a little bit difficult to do, but there's a number of softwares out there that can help you do it, or Google Analytics, hire an expert for the day, they should be able to do it for you. Metric 7, cart abandonment rate. So for example, here we're talking about the number of completed purchases over the number of carts straight up created, and obviously cart abandonment rates. 2 keys here. Find out why this keeps happening, because It's so obvious when we go through an e-commerce store and we see 50 lines to fill in. If I'm buying a product for $5 and I have to fill in 50 lines, I'm most likely going to just go to Amazon and type the name of that product in and go and purchase via Amazon, because it'll take me a lot less time than going through making an account and doing it with this company. So find out why, if that's the case, that's happening, or check your user experience as well, specifically on mobiles, tablets, and site speed. If it's taking a long time to load, or you have too many checkout options, that is drastically going to reduce the number of cart abandonments. Okay, and also use retargeting here. I'm sure this is very obvious to a number of people, but there's still probably 1 in 2 leads that we get in don't use retargeting for anything. This can get over 800% return on ad spend, just because simple retargeting ads set up at even 10, 20 pounds a day is going to result in, impressions to people who have viewed your brand already, people who have viewed a piece of content, people who have put a product in a cart and then have abandoned for whatever reason. Obviously, this is very common. You'll see Amazon doing it all the time. Just implement this, a very simple campaign. Again, there's a lot of plugins that automate this for you, or a simple designer or simple developer or simple ads expert will be able to implement this for you as well. Okay. And then finally, track data by channel. Do not use only initial or last analytical data to integrate into your ROI calculations, and also 10x what works and leave the rest. Okay, there's a full post about this at AmazonSEOconsultant.com. If you want to go to the blog, you can see the exact URL there. The link will also be in the description below. And then if you want to ask us any questions about organic marketing, you can go to HQSEO.co.uk, or if you have any specific Amazon questions, you can go to AmazonSEOconsultant.com. Okay, you can also see my Twitter there if you want to ping me a question quick. And cheers, have a nice day.